The bright lights of the Galactic Council chamber made Eleanor Wright blink as she stepped inside. The room was huge, with a high ceiling that seemed to reach toward the stars themselves. 7 large seats formed a half-circle at the front, each filled with a different alien species. Eleanor had studied them all, but seeing them in person was something else. "Remember, Captain Wright, let me do the talking," said Samuel Carter beside her. He straightened his formal diplomatic uniform and gave her a small nod. "Yes, Ambassador," she replied quietly. The year was 2082, and humanity had finally been invited to meet the Galactic Council after their ships detected Earth's quantum communications 3 months ago. The Council ruled most of the known galaxy, made up of the 7 most powerful species among the stars. The central alien, a tall blue-skinned Valerian with sharp ridges on his face, looked down at the humans with obvious distaste. "The Council recognizes the representatives of planet Earth," he said, his voice translated through the small devices in the humans' ears. Ambassador Carter stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "The people of Earth thank the honored Council for this opportunity. We come seeking friendship and knowledge." A ripple of something like amusement passed through the Council members. The Aetherian on the far left, a slender being with silvery skin and large eyes, tilted her head. "Your minds are chaotic," she said, "but interesting." Eleanor felt a strange pressure in her head and realized the telepathic alien was trying to read her thoughts. She had been trained for this and carefully focused on diplomatic phrases and peaceful images. The Xenovian representative, ancient-looking with gray-scaled skin, leaned forward. "There is more to these humans than appears," he said slowly. "I sense adaptability." "They are physically weak," said the Valerian leader dismissively. "Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are basic. They pose no interest beyond scientific curiosity." Ambassador Carter showed no reaction to these insults. Instead, he smiled politely. "We have much to learn from the Council's wisdom and experience," he said. "Earth would be honored to establish diplomatic relations and trade agreements." The meeting continued for hours. The Council laid out strict rules. Earth could only colonize certain systems deemed of little value. Human ships could only travel along approved routes. Earth would need to pay high fees for access to basic galactic technologies. Through it all, Carter agreed to everything with a pleasant smile. Eleanor watched silently, noting how the Council members seemed pleased with humans' apparent submission. Only the old Xenovian watched them with caution in his ancient eyes. 3 weeks later, Eleanor sat in a secure room back on Earth with the top military and political leaders. Screens showed the details of the restrictive agreement they had signed. "They think we're pushovers," said General Alan Blackwood, his face red with anger. "These terms are practically enslavement." Ambassador Carter calmly sipped his water. "They see us as children, primitive, emotional, and no threat to their power. This is actually perfect." "Perfect?" asked Patricia Winters, the civilian director of space operations. "They've boxed us in completely." Carter smiled. "They've underestimated us completely. Those worthless systems they're allowing us to colonize, rich in rare elements. Those basic technologies they're selling us. Our scientists are already finding ways to improve them." Eleanor spoke up. "The Valerians particularly seemed to hate us. The way they looked at us. Like we were insects," Carter agreed. "But that's their weakness. When you think someone is beneath you, you don't guard your secrets carefully around them." Patricia nodded slowly. "So we play along. Act grateful. Stay humble." "For now," Carter said. "We learn everything we can, build our strength in secret, make allies among the smaller species who also suffer under Council rule." Eleanor remembered the feeling of the Aetherian trying to probe her mind, and the cautious look from the Xenovian elder. "Not all of them underestimate us." "No," Carter agreed. "But enough do. We have time, and humans are nothing if not adaptable." He looked around the room, his face serious now. "The Council believes they've successfully contained a primitive species. Let them believe that, For now, 3 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The UES Discovery floated quietly in space near the Delta Pavonus star system. Commander Daniel Powell looked out at the distant sun through the ship's large viewing window. "All systems normal, Commander," said Olivia Ramirez from her communication station. "We're well within our approved exploration zone." Daniel nodded. The Discovery was a science vessel sent to study a strange radiation pattern that Earth scientists wanted to understand better. The Council had approved this mission, though they seemed to think humans wouldn't learn much from it. "Sir, I'm picking up ships approaching," Olivia said suddenly, her voice tense. 3 vessels, Valerian design. Daniel frowned. "We filed all the proper notices. They know we're supposed to be here." The main screen lit up showing 3 warships, their angular shapes unmistakably Valerian. They moved toward the Discovery with clear purpose. "They're hailing us," Olivia said. "Put them through," Daniel ordered. A Valerian captain appeared on screen, his blue face set in a cold expression. "Human vessel, you have entered restricted Valerian space. This violation will not be tolerated." Daniel kept his voice calm. "Valerian captain, we are in Sector 42B, which is approved for human scientific exploration under Council Agreement Section 15, Paragraph 7. We filed all required notices 3 weeks ago. Your notices were not received," the Valerian said flatly. "You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Daniel looked at his first officer, Eric Gibson, who shook his head slightly. They both knew this was wrong. The notices had been filed properly. This was not restricted space. "Valerian captain, there seems to be a misunderstanding. We can withdraw immediately if there's a problem." The Valerian cut the communication. Seconds later, the Discovery rocked as weapon fire struck its shields. "They're attacking," Eric shouted. "Shields at 80%. Daniel grabbed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." Olivia touched her console quickly. "Commander, I'm recording everything and sending an encrypted emergency signal to Earth." More shots hit the Discovery. The science vessel had basic shields but was not built for combat. Daniel knew they couldn't win this fight. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Try to reach the jump point." The Discovery turned and accelerated away from the Valerian ships, but they were faster and more maneuverable. Shot after shot hit the human vessel until its shields failed completely. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Eric reported. "We've lost engines." Daniel's face was grim as he gave the order he never wanted to give. "Abandon ship, all personnel to escape pods." As the crew evacuated, Olivia stayed at her station, fingers flying over her console. "Almost done, sir," she said to Daniel. "What are you doing?" "Get to an escape pod. Making sure this evidence reaches Earth," she said, finishing her work. "The Valerians planned this. Look." She showed him the data she'd collected. The Valerian ships had been waiting in stealth mode for hours. They knew exactly where the Discovery would be. "It was an ambush," Daniel said quietly. "Yes, and now Earth will know it." 3 weeks later, Ambassador Carter stood in the council chamber again. Behind him, Captain Eleanor Wright's face showed carefully controlled anger as they showed the evidence from the Discovery. "The Valerian ships deliberately attacked our science vessel in approved space," Carter said. 42 humans died. This was an unprovoked act of aggression. The Valerian leader waved a hand dismissively. "Your ship was in restricted space. Your evidence has clearly been altered." "Our officer Olivia Ramirez recorded everything," Eleanor said, stepping forward despite Carter's warning glance. The Etherian representative tilted her head. "I sense truth in the humans' words." But the council majority sided with the Valerians. The final judgment shocked even Carter. Earth would pay heavy fines for trespassing in Valerian space. The Valerians received only a minor reprimand for excessive force. As they left the chamber, Eleanor could barely contain her fury. They know what really happened, They just don't care. Carter's face remained calm, but his eyes had hardened. I understand now, he said quietly. Understand what? What we're really dealing with. He straightened his jacket. It's time for Phase 2. The room was deep underground, hidden beneath the New Earth Defense Headquarters. No records of this place existed in any official database. Patricia Winters sat at the head of a long table, looking at the men and women who would carry out humanity's new path forward. The Shadow Protocol is now in full effect, she said. The Discovery incident made it clear that playing nice won't keep us safe. General Alan Blackwood nodded grimly. The Valerians murdered our people and got away with it. The Council showed us exactly how much human lives are worth to them. Patricia turned to a thin man with tired eyes who sat quietly at the far end of the table. Dr. Howard, your team has full clearance now. No more budget limits, no more ethical reviews. We need results. Dr. Nathan Howard pushed his glasses up and nodded. We've already made progress reverse engineering the Aetherian shield technology. Their design is efficient, but they never thought to combine it with our own deflection theories. How much better? Asked Patricia. 300% improvement in strength, 40% less power usage, Nathan replied. The Valerians won't expect that. Catherine Reeves, a tough-looking woman in a military uniform, spoke next. My Special Forces teams are training with the new combat exoskeletons. We've designed specific tactics against each alien physiology. She pulled up diagrams on the room's main screen. Valerians have superior strength but slow reflexes. Aetherians are telepathic but physically fragile. Every species has weaknesses. Patricia nodded with satisfaction. And our public face. Ambassador Carter continues to play the perfect diplomat, General Blackwood said. He apologized again to the Council last week for another of our ships accidentally crossing a boundary. Meanwhile, that ship mapped the entire Valerian defense grid in that sector. Outside the secret room, Earth continued to present itself as a humble learning species. Human representatives bowed their heads at council meetings. Earth ships stayed in their lanes. Earth colonies developed slowly and carefully on the worthless planets they were permitted to settle. At least, that's what the Council saw. On a small moon around one of those supposedly worthless planets, Frank Martinez wiped sweat from his forehead as he supervised the construction of a hidden shipyard. The facility was built inside a deep crater, shielded from orbital scans. Similar bases were being built throughout human space. Power systems online, reported his assistant. We can start production next week. Frank looked at the designs for the new ships. They appeared civilian on the outside, but could transform into war vessels in minutes. Have the new stealth systems been installed? Yes, sir. Based on the Xenovian tech, but improved. We can hide from their sensors completely. In another part of human space, Olivia Ramirez, now recovered from the Discovery attack, sat in a small ship making contact with representatives from the Belosians, a minor species that had been pushed aside by the Council centuries ago. The Council takes 90% of our mining output, the Belosian said bitterly, his scaled skin shifting colors with emotion. They call it fair trade. Earth understands your position, Olivia said carefully. Perhaps we could discuss alternative arrangements, beneficial to both our peoples. The Belosians' eyes widened. The Council forbids direct trade agreements without their oversight. Olivia smiled. What the Council doesn't know won't hurt them. Similar meetings were happening throughout the galaxy. Earth representatives quietly contacted other oppressed species, offering technology, fair trade, and protection. Back on Earth, in the main defense headquarters above the secret room, Ambassador Carter briefed the Public Earth Council. The Galactic Council has approved our request to establish a small research outpost near the Procyon system, he announced. What he didn't mention was that beneath this small outpost would be a major military base, hidden from Council scans by new technology. Patricia Winters watched from the back of the room. On the surface, Earth remained polite, deferential, and obedient. Underground, they prepared for a future where humanity would never again be at the mercy of those who saw them as lesser beings. Let them underestimate us, she thought. It will be the last mistake they ever make. 5 years after first contact, the Etherian Human Research Station orbited peacefully around the gas giant Epsilon 9. Inside, scientists from both species worked together, studying the unique atmospheric patterns of the planet below. Linda Morrison, the head human scientist, looked up from her data when the station's alarms suddenly blared to life. "What's happening?" she asked the Etherian beside her. The silver-skinned alien's large eyes widened with fear. "Ships approaching. Not council vessels." The main screen showed 3 dark, spiky ships moving toward the station. Linda recognized them immediately from security briefings. "Zhulax raiders," she whispered. The Zhulax were not part of the council. They were predators, attacking weaker ships and stations to steal technology and take slaves. They had been growing bolder lately, pushing into council territory. Linda hit the emergency beacon. "This is Research Station Epsilon, calling all council ships. We are under attack by Zhulax vessels. Request immediate assistance." The reply came quickly, but it wasn't what she hoped for. "Research Station Epsilon, this is Council Central Command. Our nearest patrol is 3 days from your position. Suggest you surrender to minimize loss of life. The Council will negotiate for your release later." Linda looked at the 20 humans and 15 Aetherians on the station. The Aetherians were telepathic but physically fragile. The Zhulax would show them no mercy. 3 days, she said in disbelief. "We'll all be dead or worse by then." One of the Aetherians, a scientist named Nilier, touched her arm gently. "I sense your fear, but also something else. Hope." Linda touched the small communicator hidden in her ear. This device wasn't known to the Council or even her Etherian colleagues. She spoke quietly into it. "Shadow Protocol Alpha." I repeat, Shadow Protocol Alpha. 12 hours later, Captain Frank Martinez guided the UEAist Defiant toward the research station. His ship was officially registered as a small transport vessel. In reality, it was one of Earth's new stealth destroyers. "Status of the station?" he asked his first officer. "Still intact. The Zhulax have docked but haven't breached the main doors yet. They're cutting through slowly." Frank nodded. "And council vessels?" "None detected in this sector." They really did abandon those people. Frank's face hardened. "Not on my watch." Battle stations. The Defiant dropped its stealth shielding and accelerated toward the station. The Zhulax ships, caught by surprise, turned to face this unexpected threat. "They're powering weapons," reported the tactical officer. "Beat them to it," Frank ordered. The Defiant fired first, its advanced weapons slicing through the Zhulax shields as if they were paper. The improvements Dr. Howard's team had made to council technology were working perfectly. Inside the station, Linda and the others watched in amazement as the supposedly harmless Earth ship destroyed one Zhulax vessel and badly damaged another. The third turned to flee but didn't get far before the Defiant's weapons disabled its engines. When Frank and his security team boarded the station, the Aetherians stared at their human rescuers with new eyes. "You have weapons the Council does not know about," Nilier said, not a question but a statement. Frank didn't deny it. "We protect our people and our friends." 2 days later, a Council ship finally arrived, followed shortly by an emergency session of the Galactic Council itself. Ambassador Carter stood calmly as the Council members shouted accusations. "Earth vessels are forbidden from carrying military-grade weapons." The Valerian leader bellowed. The Defiant was registered as a transport ship. Carter's face remained pleasant. "A regrettable necessity, Honored Council. Had your forces been present to protect the station as promised, we wouldn't have needed to reveal our defensive capabilities." "Defensive?" The Valerian was furious. "Your ship destroyed 2 Zhulax vessels and captured a third. To save the lives of 15 Aetherian scientists and 20 humans," Carter replied. I believe the Aetherians, at least, appreciate our actions. The Aetherian council member looked troubled. The humans' minds are more complex than we realized. There is gratitude for saving our people, but concern about what else they might be hiding. As the council debated punishments for Earth's violations, Eleanor Wright, now an admiral, watched from the sidelines. The tipping point, she whispered to herself. The council could no longer pretend humans were simple or primitive. They had shown just a small piece of their true capabilities. And it was only the beginning. The Solari system sat at the edge of human space, rich in rare minerals. It had been classified as minimal value by the council and given to humans as part of their territory. The Valerians had recently discovered their mistake. Admiral Howard Reed of the Valerian fleet watched the small human mining operation through his ship's view screen. His orders were clear. Claim this system for the Valerian Empire due to a mapping error in the original treaty. The humans have only 2 small defensive ships, his second-in-command reported. This will be simple. Reed nodded. Send the message. Tell them that they have 1 hour to evacuate. The human response came quickly. This is Colonel Lisa Bennett of Earth Defense. Solari is recognized as human territory in council records. Please withdraw your forces. Reed laughed. 1 hour, humans. Then we take what we want. 59 minutes later, Reed prepared to order his ships forward when his sensor officer shouted in alarm. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Reed expected to see Earth vessels. Instead, 3 different alien species appeared on his screens. The spindly ships of the Belusians, the crystalline vessels of the Duranian Collective, and the organic-looking craft of the Nyx. All of them were minor species, pushed aside by the Council for centuries. None of them should have had ships this advanced. Before Reed could process this surprise, his communications officer reported, "We're being hailed by all vessels simultaneously." On screen appeared Colonel Lisa Bennett, flanked by representatives of each species. Valerian Fleet, you are violating sovereign space protected under the Treaty of Mutual Defense, signed by Earth, Balos, Durania, and Nyx. You have 5 minutes to withdraw. Reed was stunned. What treaty? The Council never approved any alliance. Lisa smiled coldly. The Council's approval wasn't requested. 5 minutes, Admiral. Reed looked at his tactical display. The combined fleet outnumbered his forces 3-1, with technology that shouldn't have been possible for these primitive species. Retreat, he ordered quietly. Back to Valerian space. As his ships turned around, Reed knew the Council would be furious about this development. 3 days later, the Emergency Council session was even more heated than Carter had expected. Earth has violated the most basic principles of galactic law. The Valerian leader shouted, "Creating military alliances without council approval is forbidden." Carter stood calmly in the center of the chamber. The agreements with our friends are primarily trade deals, with mutual defense as a secondary element. Trade agreements don't require council approval. These species couldn't have built those ships themselves. The Valerian continued. You gave them advanced technology. Chief Diplomat William Clark stepped forward beside Carter. We shared agricultural techniques, mining improvements, and medical knowledge. If our friends chose to invest their new prosperity in their own defense, that was their decision. The Xenovian council member leaned forward, his ancient eyes fixed on the humans. You found a path around every restriction we placed on you, every boundary. William smiled politely. We believed in preparing for all contingencies. Surely the wise council understands precaution. Back on Earth, Patricia Winters reviewed the reports from all Earth colonies and allied species. The Shadow Protocol had worked perfectly. While the Council focused on restricting human military growth, Earth had instead helped arm their new allies. Colonel Bennett's fleet performed exactly as expected, General Blackwood said with satisfaction. The Valerians backed down without a fight. Patricia nodded. And now they know they can't simply bully us one system at a time. The Council is demanding we dissolve our alliances, Eleanor Wright said, reading the latest diplomatic message. Patricia smiled. They still don't understand. These aren't just military alliances. We've built real relationships with these species. Fair trade, cultural exchange, things the Council never offered them. On a dozen worlds across the galaxy, humans worked side by side with species the Council had dismissed as unimportant. Earth doctors treated Belusian children. Nyx engineers learned human manufacturing techniques. Duranian artists created works together with human designers. And quietly, beneath the surface of this cooperation, they all prepared for the day when the Council would try to reassert control through force. They thought we would stand alone, Patricia said. Instead, we built a family. The Proxima Centauri system was the first star system humans had colonized outside of Sol. To the Council, it appeared to contain only a small human settlement and some minor repair facilities for passing ships. Nothing important, nothing threatening. They were wrong. The accident began with a simple power relay, a small piece of equipment that failed at exactly the wrong moment. The failure cascaded through the underground facility systems, overwhelming the carefully designed stealth field generators. On the bridge of the Council inspection vessel making a routine patrol, the Valerian officer's eyes widened as his sensors suddenly showed massive structures where there had been nothing before. Impossible, he whispered. Hidden beneath the surface of Proxima's fourth planet, and concealed by advanced stealth technology, was a shipyard larger than any the Valerians had ever built. Dozens of warships were under construction. Not the simple vessels Earth was permitted, but advanced ships incorporating technologies the humans shouldn't have understood for centuries. The Council emergency session was called within hours. This time, Earth's Secretary of Defense Julia Kent stood before them, her face calm despite the fury directed at her. "You have built a secret military fleet," the Valerian leader hissed. "Weapons of war, hidden from Council oversight." Julia nodded. "We have." Her simple admission silenced the chamber briefly. They had expected denials, excuses. "How did you develop these technologies?" asked the Aetherian representative. "The stealth systems alone are beyond what we thought humans capable of." "We're quick studies," Julia said. "Every piece of alien technology we encountered, we studied. We improved it, combined it with our own ideas. This violates at least 15 Council restrictions," the Valerian continued. "The punishment must be severe." The Council deliberated for days. Finally, they announced their decision. Earth would face heavy sanctions. No trade with Council worlds. No travel through Council space. Complete isolation. Ambassador Carter received the news without reaction. When he returned to Earth, he met with Patricia Winters and the other leaders of the Shadow Protocol. "They believe they've punished us," Patricia said. "Cut us off from their technology and resources." Carter smiled slightly. "They don't realize we've been preparing for this for years. Our allies will continue to trade with us secretly. Our own colonies produce everything else we need." In the Council chambers, the ancient Xenovian delegate spoke quietly to his fellow Council members after the humans had left. "We never contained them," he said, his voice heavy with concern. "They were containing us, learning our weaknesses, building their strength. They'd been 3 steps ahead since the beginning." The Valerian leader dismissed his concerns. Without Council technology, their advancement will halt. Their colonies will suffer. They will come back begging for raid mission. But as weeks passed, Earth showed no signs of suffering under the sanctions. Instead, human ships simply disappeared from Council space, returning to their own territories. The minor species allied with Earth became strangely quiet in Council meetings. 1 month after the sanctions began, Council spies brought disturbing reports. The humans were building something massive in their home system, something their stealth technology couldn't completely hide due to its enormous size. On Earth, Admiral Eleanor Wright walked through the nearly completed orbital defense platform. the largest structure humans had ever built in space. It bristled with weapons systems and defensive shields far beyond what the Council believed possible. "Will it be enough?" Patricia asked, walking beside her. Eleanor nodded. "Combined with our fleet and those of our allies, yes, we can defend our space." "The Council still doesn't understand us," Patricia said quietly. "They think we built all this because we want war." "No," Eleanor agreed. "We built it because we want peace. Real peace based on mutual respect, not the peace of submission they expected from us." As they looked out the viewport at Earth below, both women knew the next confrontation was coming. The Council would not allow humans to challenge their power forever, but when that day came, Earth would no longer pretend to be weak. They would no longer bow their heads and accept injustice. For the first time since meeting the stars, humanity would stand at full height. Ryan Phillips had once been a simple tactical officer on an Earth ship. Now he stood in the center of the Grand Council chamber, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His hands were steady as he activated the data cube he had brought. "Members of the Council," he said clearly. "For years, Earth has collected information on all Council activities. Not just the public ones, but the secret ones too." The room erupted in angry shouts. The Valerian leader stood up, his face dark with rage. "This human has no right to speak here. Remove him." Ambassador Carter stepped forward. "The Council agreed to hear our evidence, or are you afraid of what Officer Phillips has discovered?" The Xenovian elder raised a hand, silencing the chamber. "Let the human speak." Ryan nodded gratefully and continued. "This data shows that 3 Council members, the Valerians, the Krell, and the Mendari, have been manipulating the others for centuries. They've started wars between minor species. They've stolen resources from worlds they claim to protect. They've kept technologies from other Council members to maintain their advantage." The holographic display showed document after document, recording after recording. Secret meetings, hidden weapons programs, entire species reduced to poverty while their resources went to enrich the 3 dominant powers. "The attack on our science vessel 3 years ago wasn't a mistake," Ryan continued. "It was ordered directly by the Valerian High Command to test our defenses and justify restrictions on human expansion." The Etherian representative rose slowly, her silver skin paling even further. "Is this true?" she asked the Valerian leader. His silence was answer enough. The Council chamber dissolved into chaos as accusations flew between former allies. The Valerians and their 2 partner species found themselves facing the anger of the other Council members who had been deceived for generations. Earth broadcast the evidence throughout Council space, ensuring that every species, no matter how small, learned the truth about how they had been manipulated and used. 3 days later, Admiral Eleanor Wright stood with Ambassador Carter as they faced what remained of the Council. The Valerians, Krell, and Mendari had walked out, refusing to acknowledge the evidence against them. The 4 remaining Council species sat in silence, their world shaken. "What do you want from us?" asked the Etherian leader quietly. "A new beginning," Eleanor said. "A true partnership between all spacefaring species. No more first-class and second-class citizens. No more hoarding of technology or resources. The Valerians won't accept this," warned the Xenovian elder. "They're already moving their fleets to protect their core systems." Carter nodded. "We know. Earth and our allies are prepared for that possibility." The Etherian studied the humans with her large, knowing eyes. "I've touched human minds over the years. I always sensed something beneath the surface. Your anger is cold, not hot. You calculate every move. And you have been very angry for a very long time." "Not angry," Eleanor corrected gently. "Determined. There's a difference." As they left the chamber, Eleanor looked out at the stars visible through the station's great windows. "Do you think they'll attack?" she asked Carter. "The Valerians? Yes. They've spent too long being dominant to surrender power peacefully. Back on their ship, they received the news that the Valerian-led alliance had officially withdrawn from the Council and declared themselves the true galactic authority. They demanded that all other species submit to their rule or face consequences. Earth's response was simple: no. Across human space and throughout the territories of their allies, defense systems came online. Ships moved into position. The preparations made over years of careful planning were finally about to be tested. In her office on Earth, Patricia Winters looked at the latest intelligence reports. The Valerians were planning a massive strike against Earth itself, hoping to cut off the head of the resistance in one blow. "Let them come," she said quietly. "We've been ready since day one." Humanity wanted peace and fair treatment. Instead, they had prepared for the worst while hoping for better. That hope wasn't extinguished yet, but the time for pretending to be less than they were had ended. The Valerian attack fleet appeared at the edge of the Sol system, exactly where Earth's defense planners had predicted. 120 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy's history, moved toward humanity's home planet with deadly purpose. On the bridge of the lead Valerian dreadnought, High Admiral Zorak felt confident. "The humans have courage, but they lack experience," he told his officers. "This war will end today." As the Valerian fleet approached Mars orbit, they activated their targeting systems. Suddenly, warning lights flashed across every Valerian ship. Their weapons wouldn't respond. Their engines began shutting down. Communications between ships cut off. Aboard the Earth Command Station, Fleet Commander Grace Harrison watched calmly as the mighty Valerian armada drifted helplessly in space. "All ships disabled," reported her tactical officer. "No casualties on either side." Grace nodded. "Begin boarding operations. I want the Valerian leadership in custody within 2 hours." High Admiral Zorak stared in disbelief as human ships easily surrounded his fleet. "How is this possible? What weapon did they use against us?" His technology officer looked up from his console, his face pale. "Not a weapon, sir. Code. There's foreign code in all our systems. It's been there for years, waiting to be activated." On a screen nearby, a human face appeared. It was Victor Diaz, a programmer who had worked on the translation software Earth had shared with the Council in their first year of contact. Software the Valerians had copied and installed on all their ships without checking it carefully. "Greetings, Admiral," Victor said with a small smile. "I believe you're experiencing some technical difficulties." 6 hours later, Ambassador Carter and Admiral Eleanor Wright stood in the Valerian war room on their homeworld, surrounded by the defeated Valerian leadership. The battle for Earth had ended before it truly began, and swift strikes by Earth's allies had secured key Valerian bases throughout the galaxy. "How long?" asked the Valerian leader, his voice hollow. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the first day we met your council," Carter answered simply. "When you looked at us like we were insects beneath your notice." The Valerian's face showed a mix of anger and grudging respect. "You've won. I suppose now humans will rule the galaxy and treat the rest of us as you were treated." Eleanor shook her head. "No, that was never our goal." 1 week later, representatives from every spacefaring species in the galaxy gathered on Earth. For the first time, major and minor species sat as equals. Carter stood before them and outlined humanity's proposal for a new galactic compact. "No species shall claim dominance over another," he said. "All technology shall be shared for the benefit of all. Disputes shall be settled by negotiation, not force. And any who break these principles shall face the united response of all others." The Xenovian elder spoke up. "And if we do not agree to these terms, then go your own way in peace," Carter replied. "Earth will not force any species to join. But know that the old council is gone forever. The days of first and second-class citizens among the stars are over." One by one, the representatives voted. Even the Valerians, humbled by their defeat, recognized that a new era had begun. The Galactic Compact was formed with Earth as just one equal member among many. Later, as Earth celebrated this peaceful revolution, Admiral Wright found Carter looking up at the stars. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. He shook his head, remembering how they underestimated us from the beginning, how they never saw us for what we really are. "And what are we?" she asked. "A species that prefers diplomacy but prepares for war. A people who will extend friendship with one hand while keeping a weapon ready in the other. Humans who would rather live in peace but will never accept living on our knees." Across the galaxy, species who had once looked down on humans now understood the truth. Earth's message was clear. Their apparent deference had never been submission. It was simply patience. Their politeness had never been weakness. It was restraint. And the galaxy would never forget this lesson. Sometimes, the most dangerous species are those who smile while planning exactly how to defeat you, should that day ever come.